What's up, guys? So we are gonna be reacting to his story. So I've been seeing him trending in my shorts page. So let's see.
My twin brother Chris and I were 9 when we learned Morse code. We tapped messages under the dinner table when Mom told us to stop talking and tapped through the wall between our bedrooms every night. When Chris got into a car accident and the doctor said he'd never wake up, I pulled up a chair next to his bed, took his hand and tapped.
No, that is the worst thing. Seeing your loved ones die. Oh my god.
Are you there? Nothing. But I came back the next afternoon and tapped again. Before I left, I always said the same thing. See you tomorrow, Chris. A week later, Chris's fingers twitched against mine, and I almost fell out of my chair. I grabbed a nurse, and she barely looked up. They're reflexes. It doesn't mean anything. I bought a notebook.
Fire the nurse, fire her mom, her dad, her sister, brother, cousin, great grandmother.
My twin brother Chris and I were 9 when we to die and scheduled a meeting to sign the papers. Me into the hallway. We need to talk about donating your brother's organ the next day and started writing down every single one. Are you there? Nothing. But I came back the next afternoon and tapped again. Before I left, I always said the same thing. See you tomorrow, Chris. A week later, Chris's fingers twitched against mine, and I almost fell out of my chair. I grabbed a nurse and she barely looked up. They're reflexes. It doesn't mean anything. I bought a notebook the next day and started writing down every single one. 4 months in, Mom watched me scribbling and said, "How long are you gonna keep doing this?"
L mom. L mom. L nurse too.
Till he taps back. He's not gonna tap back. You're talking to a corpse. Dad lasted.
Oh, you called your son a corpse? Nah, L mom.
A few more months before he pulled me into the hallway. We need to talk about donating your brother's organs.
You're gonna donate your brother's organ? L mom, L dad, L nurse.
His fingers move every time I hold his hand, Dad.
Yeah.
The nurses said those are reflexes. Stop
Well, the nurse is lying.
getting your hopes up, son. I don't care what the nurses say. You're not donating my
Yeah.
brother's organs.
Yeah.
But a week later, my parents called to have Chris transferred to a long-term facility to die and
No.
scheduled a meeting to sign the papers. The afternoon before the meeting, I tapped into his palm like always, but this time, something tapped back. Short, short, short. Long, long, long. Short, short, short. SOS. I grabbed his hand. Chris, if that's you, squeeze once. He squeezed so hard my knuckles cracked. I stormed into the meeting room and told them my brother just responded to me. The caseworker said, "This is very common with families who aren't ready to
L caseworker, L dad, L mom, L nurse.
go." My parents nodded. I grabbed the transfer papers off the table. You're not signing anything
L transfer papers for existing.
until you come see for yourself. I walked them to Chris's bed and grabbed his hand. Ask him anything. The caseworker asked what year it was. Chris squeezed out the answer. Count to 5. 5 perfect squeezes. His mother's name, tapped out letter by letter. By the 10th question, she said, "He's still alive. We can't move him." Weeks later, I asked Chris what kept him fighting when everyone gave up. Heard Mom call me a corpse. Heard Dad say donate my organs. Heard all of them leave, except you. I asked why. I wanted to see you too. My twin brother Chris and I, the flight attendant slipped me a napkin that said, "The pilot isn't who he says he is. Meet me in the back to talk." I knew she chose to tell me because of the military dog tags around my neck. I folded the napkin and slid it into my pocket, and that's when the captain's voice came over the intercom. "Good morning, folks. This is Captain Hopkins, expecting smooth skies to Chicago, but something was wrong. I could feel it in my bones. I waited 2 minutes and casually walked to the back,
Spidey senses.
not knowing what to expect. The flight attendant was there with a man holding up a police badge. The man whispered, "I'm glad you're here. I'm an undercover cop." I knew something was wrong straight away. The flight attendant whispered, "I've flown with Captain Hopkins for 6 years. I don't exactly know what's wrong, but I know that's not Hopkins, and we're flying the wrong
my
way."
God.
She showed me the flight map of where we were heading. The plane is heading toward an
Where
abandoned
are you going? Where?
airport. I leaned over the map. My body was pumping with adrenaline because it was the perfect place
No way.
to crash a plane. There's an empty space above the pilot's room. I can climb up and listen to what the pilot and co-pilot are planning through the ceiling. Take my number. If you can tell there's something fishy going on, text me one word, now. That's the signal to move. And to distract everyone while I climbed above the ceiling, the flight attendant made an announcement on the speakers to tell everyone to keep their seatbelts on. Through the cracks, I could hear 2 men in the pilot's room talking. 15 years ago today, our brother died because of Captain Hopkins. Now we get to crash his plane with him tied up on it while we impersonate him. I texted the undercover
he
cop.
is tired.
Now, the cart slammed into the pilot's room door, and the cop kicked it open. I dropped
Yeah.
through the ceiling and tackled the fake pilot out of his seat. The cop pinned the co-pilot to the floor. The flight attendant grabbed the radio. Mayday!
Who was gonna fly the plane, bro? You are all cooked.
Pilot is gone. We need help landing right now. She looked at me. Find Hopkins, the actual pilot. He has to be on this plane somewhere. I sprinted to the
think
back
he's
of
tied
the
up in
plane,
the bathroom.
checking every door. I yanked open the closet next to the bathrooms, and Captain
Next
Hopkins
to
was
the-
inside with his hands
my
tied and
God.
tape across his mouth. I ripped the tape off. Get me to the controls. He ran to the front and dropped into the pilot's chair. He grabbed the wheel. Tower, this is the real Captain Hopkins. I'm landing this plane. When we finally landed, the cops dragged the brothers off in handcuffs. The flight attendant came up to me in the aisle. I
way.
pulled the napkin out of my pocket,
No way.
held it up. You saved 200 lives with this. She smiled and took it back. The flight attendant
Okay, so let's check the comments. And that's okay. One of the best stories yet. Yeah, because I already seen like 2 shorts. The previous short and this short. And the passengers are only here for drama. Yeah. They paid to travel in peace. Okay. Those hijackers are dumb enough to think they could lie as a pirate without being noticed by passengers. I met her on the way to Chicago. Yeah, I know that song. It's from Michael Jackson, I think. Let's continue.
Every time we heard a knock on the front door, my dad would yell, "Stealth mode," and we had 30 seconds to kill every light in the house. My brother and I would race through the rooms, flipping switches, yanking cords,
what?
shutting off the TV mid-show, while some guy outside banged on the front door yelling, "I know you're in there, buddy." Dad timed us. Once everything was dark, no talking, no moving, no looking out the windows. We'd sit there until Dad did his owl hoot, which meant all clear. Sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes almost an hour. Afterwards, he'd high-five us and go, "Real ninjas couldn't do better." He told us stealth mode was
Oh
top
my
secret.
God.
Never tell your teacher.
This is scary because like now it's like 12 p.m. in my country. As you can see the clock, it's midnight. And yeah.
Your friends, nobody. Other people wouldn't understand. For years, I believed him. When I was 8, I asked Dad why we had to hide so much. He said some annoying guy kept bothering our family, and stealth mode was how we dealt with him. I felt proud we had a secret skill that could outsmart bad guys. By the time I was 10, I heard the voice outside yell
What is
something
that
about
smile?
a bet and $20. I tugged Dad's sleeve and whispered, "Is the bad guy trying to steal our money?" Dad shushed me so hard I flinched. When I was 12, I broke the window rule, peeked through the blinds, and saw a completely normal guy in a polo shirt standing on the porch rubbing his forehead. He didn't look like a criminal. He looked like someone's tired uncle. At 13, I told Dad I was just going to open the door and tell the guy to leave us alone. The color left his face. You absolutely cannot do that. That was the first time stealth mode didn't feel like a game. By 15 or 16, it barely happened anymore. But when it did, Dad would peek through the blinds looking guilty. Mom just shook her head from the couch and muttered something under her breath. I was 17 and home alone when I heard it. "I know you're in there. It's been 12 years, man." I opened the front door. The guy nearly fell backwards. Normal-looking dude, middle-aged, holding a crumpled piece of paper. "Oh, hi. Is your dad home? I'm his old college roommate." He held up the paper.
No
"Your old man
way.
bet me $20 Michael Jordan wouldn't win his 6th ring. That was 1998. I've been knocking on this door ever since."
my
He
God.
handed me the IOU, both their signatures, right there at the bottom. I left it on the kitchen table. Mom saw it first and laughed so hard she had to hold the counter. Dad picked it up, read it, put it back down, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "So now he knows someone's home." Then he turned off the kitchen light and got under the table. We were never in danger. My dad just lost a bet because of the greatest of all time. Every time we
Okay. So now, Kaka is the best player, and Wemby is better than LeBron James and Steph Curry. I don't care what you guys say.
I became my school's hero for 1 minute before everyone watched what happened next. I don't play around when it comes to Halloween, so during our school's Halloween dance, I dressed
Holy animation, I could never edit like this. If you trap me in a room with a editing thing like CapCut or something, and you gave me $1 billion, I could never do this. I could never. This animation is so sick. I love it.
up in real firefighter gear from my dad's closet. Real jacket, real boots, real helmet. I strutted around the
That's cool, bro. That's cool.
him like I owned the place, until the fog machine popped like a toaster and the fire alarm went off. Everyone cheered, thinking it was part of the show, until I smelled burnt plastic. Teachers started waving their arms, telling everyone to stay calm, but I noticed the orange extension cord powering the machine didn't stop at the wall. It ran out the side doors and down the hallway toward the science wing. Then someone near the door yelled, "Smoke in the hallway," and
Become like your dad, a firefighter.
teachers started shouting for everyone to evacuate. Real sirens started wailing outside and fire trucks pulled up. The crowd poured into the parking lot while firefighters rushed through the main doors. That's when one of them spotted me standing near the entrance in full gear. "You, with us!" he shouted. "We're clearing the east wing." I opened my mouth to say I'm just a student, but he shoved a flashlight into my hand and pushed me forward. The hallway was dark and filled with smoke. We followed the orange cord past the lockers until it disappeared under Mrs. Carter's classroom door. One of the firefighters reached for the handle and jerked back. "Hot!" he said, then looked at me. "Hit it!" But I only had my foam axe. I swung as hard as I could and it bounced off with a pathetic squeak. The firefighter grabbed it, swung himself, and the foam bent in half. He stared at it, muttered, "These damn budget cuts," and tossed it aside. That's when someone shouted from down the hall and he waved to the others. "Forget this door. We'll circle back once we've got tools." They started heading back down the hall, but then I heard it. A squeaky wheel spinning frantically. This was Mrs. Carter's room, and the class pet Mr. Nibbles was still inside. I turned back to the door. The handle was glowing red.
You are like and a 80% chance of dying. For a rat, respect. This rat must be your pet when you are like 1.
I wrapped my jacket sleeve around my arm and threw my shoulder into the bottom panel until it cracked open. Smoke poured out and choked me instantly. The hamster cage was on the counter and tiny flames were eating the papers around it. I grabbed the melted cord with my sleeve and yanked it from the wall. A spark bit through the fabric straight into my skin and I screamed but kept pulling until the plug came loose. I grabbed the cage with my smoking sleeve and the metal seared into my palm. I could smell my skin burning. My lungs felt like they were filled with glass and my vision was going black around the edges, but I ran. When I burst through the side door, I collapsed face first onto the concrete and threw Mr. Nibbles onto the grass so I wouldn't crush him. I could hear cheering as hands grabbed me and someone pulled off my helmet. A firefighter was staring down at me. "Kid, you're a hero." That's when I heard the scream. I turned my head and watched a hawk swoop down, grab Mr. Nibbles.
All that. 80% chance of dying. For Mr. Nipples to escape. At this point, if I were you, I don't know what I would do. I would be depressed for the rest of my life. Like fire in my arms inside, and like metal cords and these things, wires, electricity, is gonna kill me. All that for Mr. Nipples to fly away? Nah, bro.
In its talons and fly away. I became my school's
If I was you, I don't know what I would do, bro.
hero. My daughter came home crying with an F because her teacher doesn't know what color blood is. The first time I realized
Blood is the color. Isn't blood the color of red, I think?
something was wrong, Riley came home from school holding out her arm. "Look, Dad, you can see the blue blood in my veins right here."
Oh no, it's not red. Yeah, your blood's blue. I think there's rich blood oxygen and poor blood oxygen. I learned that like 2 years ago.
Traced the blue lines under her skin with her finger. I put down my coffee and looked at her. "Actually, sweetheart, that's not true. Blood is always red because of hemoglobin. It's just darker red in your veins." Her face scrunched up, but Mrs. Miller showed us a whole PowerPoint.
Wait, actually, I was wrong. It was red blood. I think, yeah, it was red blood. The blue blood is, I think, your veins.
She even had diagrams from a science book. The next morning, I packed my work scrubs in my bag. I'm an ER nurse at Mercy General, and I was working the afternoon shift anyway. I sent Mrs. Miller an email asking if I could do a quick presentation about blood for career day that afternoon. She loved the idea. When I arrived, Mrs. Miller introduced me as Riley's dad who works at the hospital. 28 kids stared up at me from their desks. "I heard you..."
28 kids in your class? My class has like 22.
guys learned that blood is blue inside your body, I said. The entire class nodded enthusiastically. Mrs. Miller beamed from her desk in the corner. I pulled out a blood collection tube from my pocket and held it up. This is what we use to draw blood at the hospital. Notice something. The tube creates a vacuum. No oxygen inside at all. I paused.
Yeah.
When we draw blood with these, it never touches oxygen until we pop the cap off. I showed them photos on my phone of sealed blood tubes. See? Still red. Mrs. Miller's smile started fading. She shifted in her chair and cleared her throat. A boy raised his hand and pointed to their science textbook. But our textbook says it's blue. I picked up the book and checked the publication
Shut up.
date, 1998. Medicine updates pretty fast. We used to think lots of things that turned out to be wrong. Mrs. Miller suddenly stood up from her desk, her hands gripping the edge. Well, thank you for that interesting presentation, Mr. Johnson, but we need to move on to math now. I nodded and started packing when a girl in the back raised her hand. So our textbook is wrong? The class erupted in whispers. Mrs. Miller's jaw clenched and her voice got tight. The curriculum's
I think this book is like from 1980 something because blood is red. The veins is blue.
Actually, I interrupted, pulling up the state science standards on my phone. I walked over and turned my phone toward her. The current curriculum specifically mentions this myth as something to correct. She stared at the screen and her eyes narrowed. Her mouth pressed into a thin line and her nostrils flared. Can I speak with you in the hallway? The kids watched as we walked out and the door closed behind us. Do you have any idea how hard it is when parents undermine my authority? Her face was red and her voice was sharp. Now they'll question everything I say. I kept my voice calm. Isn't that exactly what we want them to do? Question things and learn critical thinking? She crossed her arms tightly. I've been teaching for 22 years. I'm not changing my whole curriculum.
22 years. That is like she looks like 25. So when she was 3 years old, she was teaching kids about math.
Because some nurse thinks he knows better than our textbooks. The next day, I found out Mrs. Miller
He is not a nurse, he is a doctor.
gave the class a pop quiz. Riley came home crying, her face red and puffy.
Again an F?
Her hands were shaking as she handed me a paper with a big red F on it. I took a deep breath and felt my jaw tighten as I looked at the question. What color is blood inside the body? Riley had written red, and Mrs. Miller had marked it wrong. I requested a meeting with Principal Davis and brought printouts of medical textbooks, the state science standards, and Riley's quiz. The principal called in Mrs. Miller and asked her directly, is blood blue inside the body? After a long pause, Mrs. Miller said, it's what the children understand better. I leaned forward in my chair. My daughter is crying every morning before school because she's afraid of getting Fs for writing down the truth. The next day, the school replaced their science books. Now whenever Riley learns something new at school, she comes home and asks me, Dad, is this actually true or is it just a Mrs. Miller truth? My daughter came home.
Mrs. Miller, true. Okay, buddy.
My teacher looked at my drawing, covered her mouth, and ran out of the room screaming. Our assignment was to draw something that makes us happy, so I drew me and my dad fishing at the lake, something we
No, man.
do every Saturday. I picked up my paper to see what she saw. 2 stick figures, a fishing rod, a lake, a building that said Larry's Bait and Tackle, and a fish that I even labeled fish in case there was any confusion. I had no idea what I did wrong. She came back with 2 security guards, still screaming, grabbed my drawing off my desk, and pointed at me like I was dangerous. They walked me out without saying a word and sat me down in Principal Carter's office. He had my drawing under a desk lamp like he was examining a ransom note. He looked up.
There's a principal.
Explain this. I told him it's me and my dad fishing at the lake. He pointed at my stick figure's hand. You're telling me this is a fishing rod when I'm looking at a weapon. I told him there's a line coming off it with a fish on the end, and I literally wrote the word fish next to it. Mrs. Keller leaned in. It looks like he's
Holy animation, bro. Like this, I can never do this like 10 million years, bro.
at the building. I told her it's Larry's Bait and Tackle where we buy worms, and he's facing the water because that's where fish live, and that's how fishing works. I didn't understand how every adult in the room was looking at a fish and
bro, like he looks so ugly, the kid, bro. He is so ugly, bro.
Seeing a threat. Principal Carter picked up his phone and called my dad.
Aura. Let me see that again.
Didn't understand how every adult in the room was looking at a fish and seeing a threat. Principal Carter picked up his phone and called my dad. Mr. Davis, your son drew an image that appears to depict a school shooting. We need you here immediately. I sat there staring at my drawing, wondering how I ended up here. My dad showed up still in his work shirt with dirt on his hands and stopped in the doorway. Where is he?
At least like take a shower before coming.
What did he draw? Principal Carter slid the drawing across the desk, and my dad picked it up, stared at it, and laughed. Not a chuckle, a full laugh. This is from last Saturday. He pulled out his phone, turned it around, and the photo was right there. Me standing in front of Larry's bait and tackle holding my fishing rod. Same building, same rod, same everything. He looked at the principal. Is everyone in this room slow? My son drew a fish, labeled it fish, drew a fishing rod, drew a bait shop, and you looked at that and saw a school shooting. Nobody said anything. You pulled my son out of class and called me at work because not one adult in this building stopped and said, "Hey, maybe that's a fishing rod." Mrs. Keller stared at the floor, and Principal Carter had nothing. My dad put the drawing in his pocket. We're done here. Let's go. Next art class, I drew Mrs. Keller and labeled it Donkey in case there was any confusion. My teacher looked.
Okay, so let's see when he was gonna. January. Wait. When was his first ever
A teenager.
video? February 7. Bro, I've been doing YouTube for a year. The most views I got was 7K. I think it's 8K now. Bro, this guy grew
A teenager.
so fast. He has 4 million. He has 4 million, bro. He has 4. Oh my god, bro. Okay, so that's the end of his story. He is so ginger. Wait, look at him. So on the right, like on my right. Okay, so on the left is a green eye, and on the right is a blue eye, and he is so ginger, bro. He is so ginger. He is so Is he the gingerbread man, bro? He is so ginger. Oh my god. Okay, so that's the end of his story. If you like his videos, make sure to go like and subscribe to him. And I'm OMM7, and I'm out. Peace.